There we go. All right, so we are now being broadcast across 3 different channels. We're being broadcast on LinkedIn, on YouTube, and Facebook at the moment. And what the purpose of this group that we're part of, is every single week, what we're going to do is we're going to have people who are coming in who want to accomplish something but are getting stuck. And so we're going to open up to the internet and we're going to find a solution for everybody. And by the end of every session, tonight we're just going to go based on if it's the 4 of us, we'll have a moderately short session, probably about 30 minutes. If it's a little longer, 45 minutes, which is the expected amount of time. So, who I am. My name is John McLean Foreman. My professional background is that I worked in the game industry for many years. I was a narrative director, and a little while ago I got out of that business and got into this business, which is about behavioral training and self-development and finding ways that we can change ourselves and get into full action really quickly. Because I had a terrible time my whole life in following through. I had this brutal time with consistency. I had these wonderful ideas, at least I felt they were wonderful. And then what would happen is, but my effort would be like, I'd work like 12 hours one day, and then like 2 hours the next, and then like 14 hours the next, and then like not work for 2 days. And I was like on and off and on and off and on and off. I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And so I've spent the last 30 years trying to work out why we do what we do, why our brain works the way it works, why we get stuck with a certain behaviors. And so I've got a whole series of techniques, and what we're going to do is we're going to jump into where you're stuck. Now, what I want everybody to know is that if you're feeling desperate, because I know some of the people who aren't here right now who sent me what they're dealing with. There was a degree of desperation. We had people dealing with chronic pain, and they've never had it before. They've suffered an injury, and like this has now become their life, and they don't know how to handle it. And what I want to reassure everybody with is that no matter what you're dealing with, no matter how extreme it feels, if there's something that you really want to achieve, or another way to say it, if there's something that you are committed to achieving, there's something that you're determined to have happen in some way or another, and you're encountering a problem, you're getting blocked, then that combination does a couple of things. One is it feels awful. It feels like one of the worst times in our life, usually, because humans, we don't like not getting what we want. We stress out, we get upset, we have meltdowns. Why am I doing this? Blah 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 blah. And at the same time, though, when you have a commitment and a problem, what happens is that this is the time when you really start to dig and really start to learn and really start to understand. And we won't go into it too deeply, but I have a series around this very topic. If you dig into everything in your life, like 90% of the stuff that you're most proud of, it had this combination to it. If you look at all your greatest successes, all the things you're most proud of, all the things where it felt terrible at the time, but if it didn't happen, you wouldn't be the person you are today, it has that combination every single time. And if we can start to adjust to the idea that when this problem shows up, even if it feels terrible, it is the gateway to something amazing. Okay? So people who just have a commitment, everything's going fine, there's no growth really, because they just sail along. Anybody who's just only got a problem, that's all their whole experience. They're not looking for solutions, and then same thing. There's no growth there. So again, that combination is what will lead you to your greatest insights, your greatest achievements. So rest assured, everybody is very, very close. And sometimes you just can't see it because you're getting in your own way. So with the three of you here, let's have a look at what each of you are dealing with. So I'll sort of throw in, we can stick specifically to your issues. But we had, we had the chronic pain one. We had somebody dealing with fear. We had, we've got one about having a tough time finishing, and not being able to be consistent. The thing that I had, and how demotivating that is. There is one which was lots of work and no results, and then feeling just terrible about themselves. There's the overwhelm. There is procrastination. What else do we have? Wanting to want. That was another big one. There was self-doubt is another big one. And things not working. Okay? So the ones that you guys are dealing with, we've got the finishing inconsistency is one of the big ones. And the other one that we've got is the self-doubt. And the other one is that we've got, I feel like I'm doing all the right things, but things aren't working, and so I keep changing my focus. So who of the three of you is feeling the most stuck? Because what I want to do is I want to make sure that we tackle what you're dealing with and find solutions and find a way to break through based on urgency, right? So each of you has your issue. Who feels that it's something that you really, 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 really want to get dealt with tonight? And feel free to unmute yourselves.
Okay, I'll go.
Okay, cool. All right. That sounds fantastic. So, the one that you're dealing with, do you remember what you wrote to me? Do you want me to read it back to you, or do you want to improvise and let us know what it was?
I think I remember, and that would be that I have, there is a goal for me. I would like to get a screenplay that I had written, I'd like to edit it so that it is marketable, I suppose, to get a point where it would actually be something that would be accepted and seen on Netflix or just on the screen, on any screen, right? And but I've never written a screenplay before, and so I don't know if I have the capability of getting the screenplay to that level. I have another career that kind of takes precedence because it is seen by myself and others as being quote unquote more important. I've spent a lot of time doing that job, and it's the one that brings in money. And so I generally put more focus on that and put my writing on the back burner, even though writing really does give me the most joy.
Okay. So what I heard in there is a couple of different things. Like, first of all, you got the, I want this, but I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if I'm good enough. Am I wasting my time? There was that, and then there was on another one, which is, and here's the other thing that I do that brings in money, and this is what people want me to do, and they want me to stop, this pie in the sky dream thing, right? So I hear two different ones. So which one would you like to sort of deal with? Do you want to deal with the people are giving you shit for following your dreams, or do you want to deal with the internal struggle you're going through?
Let's look at, is I mean, when you say people are giving me shit, I give myself probably the most shit of all of them.
Sure.
So I'm like my biggest critic, right? In that situation, like I have a perception about what they think. It's once in a while I ask that it's been voiced, I guess, that, well, I don't know, are you ever going to get this? Are you going to do this? It doesn't look like you've been thinking about it for a while, but it's not done. Um, and so I do have that from a couple of my friends and the people closest to me. But again, it carries over in my own head, you know.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, okay, let's deal with that one first.
Okay, so the you want to deal with the one where you feel you shouldn't be doing it, or the one
Right.
where you okay. Well, let's have a look at that one then. Okay, so if you feel you shouldn't be doing it, well, let's dig a little more into that one then. So you feel you shouldn't be doing it. Again, I want you to just clarify that. Why
Right.
shouldn't you be doing this? Why shouldn't you be following something that makes you happy?
Well, I do have limited time, right, in my life, and I've got other responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
one being my day job
Mm-hmm.
and or my, let's call it my, right, it's my other job. So
Mm-hmm.
um it's and it takes up time, so I have to spend time in it. And then also I generally I get like connections through that job to do other things
Mm-hmm.
that I know how to do. Or I would might be good at doing, some volunteer, uh, some like connecting people to other people, but all of it takes time,
Mm-hmm.
a time commitment. But it does make me feel like I'm doing good for
Mm-hmm.
other people. An immediate
Mm-hmm.
uh, feedback,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm getting this, yes, you're doing well, and the strokes are immediate. Whereas when I'm working on my writing, I don't have that immediate
Mm-hmm.
feedback because that would be something I have to give myself
Mm-hmm.
because not a lot of people, I guess it's not like everyone I know is reading my work, right? I'm not letting everybody read it. It's my own thing. So,
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of sort of automatic behavior, right? The what a human will always move towards is getting something they want, and we will default towards getting something we kind of want instead of taking the risk on going for something that we really want,
right.
right? So we go for the shadow, we go for the experience of the basically our behavior. Whenever you're able to focus really really well, there's a sort of a structure to it, and uh, it's very similar to the flow structure. Or it really is the flow structure. It's something we do unconsciously. Is when you're doing something that sort of has a closed loop. This is part of how games work, right? So you do something, you expect a certain result. There's a certain bit of uncertainty about it, but then you discover that the efforts you put in gives you something or doesn't give you something. So you've got this sort of loop of, okay, so this works, this doesn't work. And in a lot of the stuff that we do and we spend our time on, that little closed loop will give us stuff that we think, it's not too bad, right? So when
Right.
you have a very clear finish line, when you have very clear rules as to when you're on track, when you're off track, when it's very clear about what you will get out of something, what's the benefit for me, and when there's a degree of challenge, not too much or you get stressed out, and too little and you get really bored, right? So when you have these natural parts of whatever your activities are, right? And part of it, you need that feedback. This is an essential part of being human. We need feedback, and when we're in the space of I'm not getting any feedback, we get a little lost, right?
Right.
So because we need that structure, we will go into doing things that are not necessarily good for us because it gives us those sort of reassurances and answers, and it lets us feel like the world is working, so to speak.
Mhm.
And on the flip side, like let's say when you're doing your writing, I don't know if I'm any good. I don't know how long this is going to take. Even if it is good, I don't know if it's going to sell. And even if it is going to sell, I don't know who to sell it to. And da 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 da. So you see how there's none of the closed loop in that at
Right.
all,
Right.
right? And if we need that closed loop, then obviously you're going to naturally move towards the a job that's okay, gives you opportunities or whatever it is you're talking about.
Hmm.
That gives you the experience of, at least I'm getting somewhere. At least I'm getting something of value for the effort that I put in,
Right.
right? Whenever we have something where it feels like we're putting in all this effort and we're getting this much value, even if it's not true, if we perceive that, we don't like it, we don't want to do it anymore, right?
Right.
So when we're learning, when we're being entrepreneurs, when we're building our businesses, when we're trying to become social media gods, whatever people care about over there, a lot of it is like, I don't know what I'm doing. You're throwing darts at the dartboard, so you don't have that closed loop, and there is a solution in there. But what you have to do while you're building it is you have to invent your own closed loops.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So
Yeah, absolutely.
if you want to feel like you're getting somewhere with your writing, saying, hey, you know what, I'm going to do some work on my writing this week, there's no finish line, there's no rules, there's just a task. And if that feels heavy, like, why would I do all this work? I'm not getting anything. So you have to create. You can do it through mini finish lines. You can do it through whatever you think is. It can be completely arbitrary. It's just so long as your brain goes, okay, I know what I'm aiming at, I know when I'm off track, I'm on track, and I know when I'm finished. So it could be, I will finish a scene and present it to a professional writer by next Monday. Boom. You know exactly what to do, don't you?
Right.
I will do some writing this week.
Too open-ended.
Exactly. Right?
Right.
So you need to invent your own little loops. And because if the human mind needs that, if we need that for our emotions, we have to have the experience of, I'm getting somewhere. What I'm doing has value. I'm getting that feedback, right? And again, when you're doing something that is completely solitary most of the time, it's like you don't have that from external sources. So you have to invent it.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you create that loop, what it's going to do is it's going to take away all that. Am I wasting my time? Not the self-doubt stuff, but the other stuff, where you're
Hmm.
saying, is this, good use of my time, or whatever your exact points. Again, remind me. I want to make sure I'm tying it together properly.
Yeah, it's like am I exactly, am I wasting my time? Am I good enough to make this, a is it like I'm constantly comparing it to this other career I have, which
Right.
again, I don't love, but has these other
Right.
things I'm just naturally naturally not I shouldn't say naturally good at. I just have spent more time perfecting
Yeah.
that aspect of things, right? To be fair to the writing, I haven't had quite as much time, doing that than as doing my other job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's really not a fair comparison. But the closed loop makes a lot of sense
Mm-hmm.
because I've been thinking, oh, I just am weak-willed. I don't have I must not love it, as much as I think I do because I'm not sitting here and doing it all the time. Why wouldn't I do it, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't I make time for it? It's sort of like discovering, that when you have chocolate in the house,
Mm-hmm.
you should just have enough willpower not to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you realize, oh, wait a minute, I'm not. Humans are built to eat as much sugar as they can when it's available. It's just that in this day and age, we have too much of it available all at the same time. So to
Yes, we do.
understand that, hey, I'm not just weak. I'm not weak. Is this is my humanness, and the closed loop makes a lot of sense there. It makes me feel a lot better as because it's not that I don't like that I don't like writing and that I don't want to. It's just I need to find a structure that's
Yep.
again that's human in me, right?
Yeah.
It's the human in
Exactly.
me wanting something closed loop. So great. Yeah.
And so you see already that like I hear the change in tone of your voice,
Hmm.
right? And I'll tell you what changed is when we look at our goals, and even if we logically know it's possible, if we don't relate to it as possible,
Hmm.
if we don't feel it emotionally as possible, it becomes very hard to keep moving forward. Now, because we have now given you just a very, very simple little structure technique, you're like, oh, okay, it's possible, I can do this, and suddenly you're excited to write again. Because now suddenly whatever the fear and the pain of the, you know, am I putting in my effort in the right place, and et cetera, you know, that's suddenly vanished. Now you know that, okay, now I can make myself work. Because again, also what you're going to be struggling with is whenever we give into an excuse and a fear, we damage our belief in what's possible.
Right.
Okay? And the reason this happens is because when we give into an excuse, what we're telling ourselves is, I will accomplish this thing, like writing a screenplay, as long as this excuse doesn't happen. Whenever this excuse happens, I will be weak and give into it.
Right.
And so when we look at our future becomes extremely uncertain. So simply by getting connected to my dreams are possible, just that experience of now you've got like a little technique, so you know, now you go, oh, now I can actually do some work. I can put it into little chunks this week and I'll get stuff done. So you can now see it. So it's you're not even relating to the finishing my screenplay and selling it as possible. You're now relating to doing the writing is possible. Why
Right.
wasn't I doing it? Right? And so
Right.
that's like, oh boy, and if I can do my writing, which I love, then, you know, now I can, now my other dreams are possible too. And so
Right.
back to the one we give into excuses. If you, as I say, if you give into an excuse, you are telling your brain that your success is conditional. And what that automatically puts into your brain is that evaluation again of, okay, I'm going to put in all this work, but I know I might betray myself and derail myself, and so therefore I don't know if it's possible again. It throws you into that negative spiral again, right? So
Right.
whenever you overcome an excuse, it's like it happens in a matter of days. Whenever you overcome an excuse and you take steps towards something that you actually care about, you move closer to something you care about. You're filled with
Mm-hmm.
confidence because you have just told yourself, when I hit those walls, when I hit that place where I normally quit, I find a way through. I break through. I make it through. And that fills you with a whole degree of confidence, because now when you look at your future, you see, okay, so when a problem shows up, okay, I'm not going to like it, it hurts or whatever, but I always find my way through. I don't give in. And then you settle into this whole degree of, yeah, of course it's going to happen. Right? Because when you don't have that, then you have to constantly deal with part of your brain jumping back and forth with, should I do it, shouldn't I do it, is it on, is it off, am I not gonna, right? And I mean, that is just a spiral, is brutal. And so having this bit where you have that confidence simply because you spent like 3 or 4 days overcoming an excuse that don't really beats you and moving closer to something you care about, all that processing power that was going to those concerns, it vanishes. And so you can bring a lot more of your mind and focus to the task that you actually care about.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. All right. And so what we can do afterwards, because we're going to move on to somebody else as well. What
Sure.
we can do afterwards is we can set up a little structure for you. So we can set something up so you can find the closed loops, so you can invent the closed loops, and you can experiment with it a little bit, and then, you know, did this work this week, did it not work, et cetera, et cetera. So having that structure is going to help you, like of testing it, I mean, the structure of testing it is going to help you actually find what works for you. So you'll see when
Right.
it doesn't work. Cool. All right,
That's good.
let's jump into another question. So we've got two other questions. We've got things are not working, so therefore I keep changing tactics, or being consistent. I get derailed by other things in my life, and then I'm not consistent, and I don't follow through. So we've got the finishing consistency one, or we've got the I keep changing my tactics. They're similar, but they are different. Who wants to do theirs? We've got Sharon, and we've got our gentleman friend, Logie. Who wants to go?
I Marie.
Hi, Marie. Hang on 2 seconds. We got to, let me see which one yours was. Uh, what was your issue? I don't see your name. Oh, I don't think you sent something, did you? Beforehand.
Oh, I have to say
Yep. So you need to
no.
send it to me beforehand
Yeah.
so I could do a little preparation.
All
And
right
so what we're
then.
going to do is we're
Okay.
either going to do uh, Logie or
I'll
Sharon
just
tonight.
listen. I'll just
Sure, sure,
listen.
sure.
Okay.
And what you want to do as well is like make sure that you send it to me, and we can put you at the front of the line next week. Okay.
Uh, Hello.
Hi.
Okay. Yeah, so like the issue that I've been uh running into pretty consistently is that I set up a schedule, I set
Mm-hmm.
up kind of a plan for the week, but very consistently kind of I get sidetracked with other things in life that
Mm-hmm.
I have to take care of. And so, the kind of plan gets messed up and I have to rearrange it constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of been, I guess, pretty disruptive because I've been trying to go from having really no plan to making a change and setting up a pretty detailed plan. So I guess I would maybe have a more, I don't know if it should be less focused and detailed or how I should change it.
Well, I wouldn't get into the minutia of your plan so much as what I hear is like, I mean, it may not be working effectively, but what I hear you're having a problem with is not planning. It's how you feel about your plan not working. Would you say that's accurate?
Um, yes, I think so. It's
Okay.
and then it's just, it uh, sort of uh it's hard to describe, but I guess it does also just have, yeah, that kind of how I feel about it, and kind of it becomes very demotivating, I guess.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. And so this is one of the things that I want to jump into with you. So, because changing the timeline of your plan. Why is that a problem? Life happens,
Um,
and you said like let's go into specifics rather than sort of vagueness. So, when did you say something was going to happen, and then what happened when you had to change the sort of deliverable?
um, well, I suppose I just had to move it further out, but
Okay.
I guess the issue is I end up kind of moving it further and further out
Mm,
pretty consistently.
yeah.
Um, and then I guess uh, I kind of move on to something else, or I
Mm-hmm.
kind of then think, okay, maybe I'll do, yeah, like I start to think maybe I'll do something else, smaller scope.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, it's kind of the issue, and
No, I get that.
it's like it's overwhelming, I guess, also.
No, I get that. The one of the things that happened with me, I'll share like a super quick story, is that I have tried many things in my life. I tried to set up my own game company. I had my own comic book. I wrote TV show, and then I pitched it around Hollywood, and I've done all these various things, and none of them worked. Right? So my experience of myself for 30 years, whatever it was not I failed, but I am a failure. And even when I know that logically it's not true, or I have the experience, I don't feel that way anymore. Still underneath there somewhere is that experience. And a short little while ago, what I did was, for the first time in 10 years or something plus, I actually went through my entire career. I redid my resume to sort of modern standards. And just by going into my life and what I'd actually accomplished, what I saw was that I'd actually done some remarkable things. I repeatedly started something that was borderline impossible, and I actually built it. And something would happen, I would try to sell it, or I'd try to get it built or built further or whatever, and then I'd get blocked, I'd get blocked, I'd get blocked, I'd get blocked, and I'd be like, okay, well, this isn't working, I'll go do something else. Right? I'll try something else and try it again and try it again and try it again. And so what I saw by doing my resume like that was that, as I say, I'd actually done remarkable things. But now I could see the pattern. The pattern was not that these things I had done hadn't worked. The pattern every time was I sucked at getting the message out. I was not good at marketing. I was not good at continuing with the pitching. Even when I was getting stuff in the studios in Hollywood and getting the meetings with some of the big studios and stuff like that, when it hit that point where I hit the block too many times, then I was like, okay, I quit and I change it. And so what I have seen is that my perception all these years was completely flawed. And most of the time, when we really look at what we've been doing and what we're capable of, it's just needs a tiny little adjustment. And when you actually see what you really are versus what you think you are, you have a fundamental shift about yourself. Okay, so my experience of myself since I did that is very, very different than what it used to be. Now I say, okay, all I need to do is I need to learn messaging. I got to get better at messaging, and that's it. And so you're going to be dealing with something similar. Okay, now as well as what Linda was dealing with the, is it possible, is it not possible? You have got something that where you don't have your own version of closed loops, it sounds like, right? You build something to a certain level, and then you get blocked, or it's taking too long, and every time you move the finish line out, because it's normal. You work in games, right?
Yeah.
Right. How often does a major studio, any studio, actually hit their deadline properly?
More often not.
I have worked on many games where we've put the game out anyway. It's like, oh, we said we're going to do it by this date, and it comes out, and we're just like, wow, that was. And so this is part of the process, right? And so, my perception is, I think you need to be a little easier on yourself, because this is what happens. And I'm going to guess that part of what's missing for you is that experience as well of, I'm putting my effort into something valuable and I will get a valuable result. Once you hit that bit where it's taking so much effort and I'm not getting what I want, I get the vibe that that's part of the derailment. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, definitely. It's that, and also just even small things like uh, just like I'm gonna work on my own thing and just I oversleep or something. Just kind of the these small kind of things, I
Yeah,
guess, pick at you.
yeah, yeah. You're. I hear that you're a little hard, a little hard on yourself, but I get it as
Yeah.
well because I mean, if a lot of the times like you give in to, uh, uh, if you give in to an excuse or you do something where you feel it's irresponsible or you're like, why didn't I follow through anyway? Like, I mean, that sort of compounds, and then what I tried to do is I would try to get like overly structured, and then I became very unforgiving if my plan got thrown off at all. Like I'd have this like really rigid plan for the day, and
Hmm.
I would get up in the morning, and then the kid would be sick, and I'd have to deal with that, and then the wife would want something, and da 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 da, and it's noon, and I haven't started my work yet. My day's ruined. Oh, I was going to work 13 hours today, and then it sort of throws off my day, and then I got to spend some time to sort of get my mind back together, and then I get stressed out, and then by like 6-8 hours in, I'm like, screw it, this I've done enough today, and so having that experience of you know not getting stuff done, it is rough, and it is demotivating. Do you plan for disruptions? Do you have that as part of your schedule?
Um, yes and no. Like I have kind of extra time, I guess, added, but I don't really plan on, extra time added because I expect things will take longer, but
Mm.
I don't have specific sort of plans for, if things get disrupted or change. Yeah,
May I make just a simple recommendation?
of course.
When you do your plans, what I'd like you to start adding to your plan is, I know there's going to be disruptions, and everything's going to take 3 times longer than I thought.
All
And
right.
simply by adding that, it's like, I mean, dude, like, I've been working with tech recently. I've been working with AI and trying to get these programs working, that program working, blah blah blah. And the number of times I've tried to deal with something which I know should only take me 10 minutes, and it takes me 3 hours because I don't know what the solution is, I don't know where to find the solution, blah blah blah. And like I have my little meltdowns, right? Had. And now I'm just used to, like, anytime I'm dealing with tech, I know something is going to go wrong. So now I've got that part of my plan, so it doesn't stress me out now. It's part of my scheduling. Right? There are little mental techniques that I can teach you to deal with this experience. Um, One of the ones that I teach is it's a little more complex. It's basically because it takes some training. It's part of one of my larger programs, and what we can do is we can basically change the filters through which we see the world, and what we see is what we react to. What we react to is what we get results from. Blah blah blah. And it's sort of based on acting, right? Because if you see a really really good actor, and they're crying and they're screaming, they're terrified and all this stuff, they're not faking. They're experiencing it. They are in this moment of, they're in the body of that character, and it doesn't devalue their own identity. They're like, the moment they stop acting, their own identity comes back. But for the moment that they are that character, they see things like that character does. They see things and feel things and behave, and their body language changes, and it's like they shed their identity and adopt a new one. Historically, this was called the muse, right? It's like, this thing came to me, I didn't even know what it was. It's like somebody else was writing for me or creating music, because I don't think that way, right? So we have the ability to do this, okay? And if we have the ability to basically transpose our identities temporarily, then that means that we can, and behave from it and experience as if it's real, and our subconscious will react as if it's real. That means that this filter, this identity, is replaceable. You can change it however you want. You can be any character you want in the moment and experience it as real. And that means, at the same time, that any character, filter, whatever you want to call it, is of equal value, right? And that means that you can actually hold two completely separate filters, contradictory filters, in your mind at the same time. And what this gives you access to is it breaks cognitive dissonance, right? Because why we get all messed up over certain things is because we're trying to change ourselves from one state to another. Anytime we're really struggling, we're like, if we're really sad, we don't want to be sad, we're trying to be happy, and we keep fluctuating back and forth, and we get upset about not being happy, blah, 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 blah. And when you realize your brain is like a quantum computer, it can be in the on state and the off state simultaneously. You can let go of that need to try and make them, make sense together. Our brains have that capacity to hold multiple contradictory ideas simultaneously. And when you do that, it gets you in a space of the benefits of both. So for example, you could have, I am an absolutely driven, entrepreneur. And you can have that filter and then see things as an driven entrepreneur would. And you can have, I'm a completely chilled out, hanging out on my couch, whatever happens kind of guy. And you can have the benefits of that. And if you have them both in your mind at the same time, then you can be you can take the best from both. You can be completely chilled out about whatever happens and driven. You can draw from both. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it works extremely effectively when we're struggling with, something's working, something's not working, or self-doubt, etc. You can allow one of your beliefs to sit in your brain and engage with another one simultaneously. Now, as I say, this is one of the more sort of advanced things I teach, but what this would give you access to is it would allow you to get in that space where you're struggling with, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? Is this the well, you tell me. You tell me. What is the piece where you really bang into the wall when you're when you're dealing with your issues and you feel bad or whatever, you're about to quit? What are you dealing with?
I mean, I guess part of the issue is it's hard to define,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The sort of being more structured is a recent change.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost sort of made me feel more doubt, I guess,
Sure.
which is
Yeah.
kind of a odd
You
thing.
fail more.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue right now.
Okay. Yeah, maybe the dual states is a little too far down the road. We can keep talking, and I can. Maybe what we need to start with for you is just some simple things, like for you can be a little bit of the closed loop as well. Like, I mean, for you as well, I hear like there's a series of places that you're stuck, and I think it's going to take a bit of pulling it apart, right? And the problem is the way the mind works when we have a whole bunch of things feeding into each other, right? So if you've got this behavior has this beliefs, which feeds into this behavior has this beliefs, and you got like 5 different sort of behaviors that are all feeding into each other. Even if you grab one of them and go, this one's dumb, and I pull it back out, you still got the other 4 that are creating sort of a pattern or behavior. Like, it's best, like one of your beliefs could be, it's like, if I hit the wall too many times, I should change focus. Or you've got another one, which is if I get distracted too much, then I'm a failure, I'm weak. And you've got another one which is the best way to deal with this is being super structured and so forth. But you've got a whole bunch of thoughts and beliefs around each of these sort of ideas, and we've got to break them all apart. But because so many of them feed into each other, every time we break one up and pull it out, the other ones are going to try and pull it back in. So it's probably going to take a little bit of time just to sort of break each of them up individually and then separate them. And then what we can do is we can keep finding techniques for you to experiment with. And I think what we need to do is we need to find some techniques that have a degree of flexibility, right? So if superstructure for you is a little too strong right now, because it's a little too rigid, and if you go off track you feel bad, then what we need to do is we need to create a structure that gives you your target. Remember that closed loop structure? You have your target, you got your rules, etc. And so, but something where you get to sort of improvise and create each day, so you get to test it. And another thing we have to get you off is the idea that only a specific result has value, right? And so that's another one
Right.
of the beliefs. That's another one of the beliefs that you have. And as long as you have that one's going to feed into a whole series of them. And like, if only one thing has value, then anytime you don't have that one thing, it's going to be upsetting. It's going to be stressful, right? So getting you into the experience of I'm getting closer to what I want, I'm getting these wins, and having a series of things that you value. So it's not just, I structure myself, perfectly 8 hours a day or whatever your thing is. If you have, different win conditions, a whole series of different win conditions. It could be, I managed to actually get 5 hours in. Normally I don't. Normally I get lost. So it's like, or I learned something today, or other things that you value. If we can have those as the benefits, then no matter what final result you actually get, you're gonna have a feeling like you had growth during the week, that you learned something during the week, that the final outcome is possible again, because again, believing something is possible is key to keeping yourself in action. Right? Anytime you hit it's not possible, or I doubt it's possible, then it becomes a struggle to keep moving forward. We are out of our 45 minutes today. Do you have any quick questions first? I don't want to like stretch it off into an hour. If I said I would keep it into 45 minutes. Do you have some questions?
I don't, but yeah, I mean, it's a lot to think about. I wrote some notes, so I'll go over those.
I'll like, what I want to do is I want to give you some like smaller chunks, some things that you can experiment with. And because what we need to do for you is we've got to work out what all those beliefs are. Because whatever that belief is, whatever's true, leads to emotions and other meanings and behaviors and so forth. And so we've got to come up with a structure that is more important than you getting result, is working out what these beliefs are. Because if we can bring them to the surface and you get them into your conscious mind, then you're like, oh, is that what I'm thinking? Oh, that makes sense. And so if we can do that at first, make your target I accomplish my goal or my structure or whatever is icing on the cake, and the real target is, what am I telling myself? How many things am I telling myself that's kind of off base? And then we can start seeing the patterns. And once we start seeing the patterns, then we can start breaking them up and disentangling the whole thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll think of something that would be a good sort of starter piece for you, and we can talk about it briefly afterwards. Okay. So it's my pleasure. So this was our first group coaching. Thank you everybody for showing up. As I say, I want to make sure I sort of keep it to the stated time. For anybody who didn't get their stuff handled this week, you are more than welcome to come back next week. We can handle whatever questions, whatever blocks you have. And the more you can let me know ahead of time, the more specifics, the more I can have something specific prepared for you. Because what I want to be able to do for you guys as well is I want to be able to say, okay, here is something very specific you can do. Not just, oh, that's giving me some ideas. I want to say, okay, so you've got an idea, but here is how you can practice this. So the more I have ahead of time, the more I can, structure something that will specifically target what you're dealing with, and then give you resolution within a few days, kind of thing. Cool?
Cool.
Great. All right, guys.
All right, John, thanks.
It is my absolute pleasure, and I'll see everybody next week.
Thanks, John.
Okay, John. Thank you.